Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another car video. Men have to stop being comfortable with being in the 80%. I want to shout out Steve the Dean Williams for having me on his show the other day, man. It was a powerful discussion. I'm like, man, this was... I was feeling in rare form, but I was feeling in my element, right? And, we had some callers coming in, but we had a couple callers talking about how, the general conversation was how the game has changed, or has the game changed? And, my personal thing is for people at the lower end of things, yeah, it has, because women, they free to go for the top dudes. But then we had a couple dudes coming in, and it seemed like their focus was on that 80%, or as one caller, the 90% that's not getting it. And here's the problem. Here's the overall problem that Rom has with it. Okay, we throw out these numbers like women only chasing 10% of men, women only chasing 20% of the men, right? And I get that. And to be honest, we don't know what the number is because nobody's actually done a real census. We just throw that out. We just know that only... Hold up, y'all. Last thing I need is to catch something trying to come out. I don't know, my neighbors are out and shit. Anyway, right? And that's cool. Whatever the number is, it's, fewer men are monopolizing the women. Alright, that's cool. What I'm seeing a lot, and I have a real problem with, is a lot of men kind of accepting that and making excuses and complaining. That's some fucking bullshit, man. That's some fucking bullshit. You know what, man? I'm a college basketball fan. Root for the St. Joe's Hawks in Philadelphia. They had a couple key injuries, right? And, usually with them, it's good if they make, win their league championship and maybe get a couple rounds in the NCAA tournament. But another infamous college basketball team is the Duke Blue Devils. Now, I remember reading something about Coach Mike Krzyzewski, right? He said every year when they start out the season, they actually schedule their stuff. They plan to be in the national championship every year. I mean, they schedule it to the point they know how they're going to travel, how they, kids going to take the classes, everything. They start out the year. Now, do they make it every year? Of course not. But their whole mindset is we're going to win. And really, that's not just them or any sport. If you look at the champion teams in any sport, they expect to win. I was watching a high school basketball game last week. And it was some high school in Florida. They won a few national championships. But they didn't win one the last couple years, and they considered the year a disappointment. Look, people, the same fervor that a man will have for competing in sports, he got to have the same fervor for getting women in general, but just making it in life in particular. You got to think it to yourself, I'm going to get the top women. I'm going to have them behave according to, my standard. They're going to walk and talk, whatever. I'm going to have some control. I'm going to get those best women. I'm not going to sit from the outside and say, well, I'm in the 80%. And, those 20% guys, I'm going to hate on them. I'm going to hate on Pookie and Ray Ray and these celebrities and stuff. Man, fuck that. Because like I said, first of all, that's not a hard number anyway. Two, one of the things people got to understand about men, okay, for reference sakes, we'll use the 20%, right? For reference sake. The thing you got to realize that not a single man is born into the 20%. Not one man. Now people will say, well, you know what, that guy's a fashion model or that guy's real muscular. Okay, say the guy's real muscular, women going crazy over him. At some point, that dude had to lift a weight. At some point, he had to be introduced to a way. I know a young lady now, she got a boyfriend, right? When I first saw dude was real slim, real skinny. Man, that dude looked like the Hulk now. Now, we ain't gonna get into how he got there, but whatever the case, that dude work out 7 days a week. That dude looked like almost a genetic mutation where he is. Now, irrespective of how he got the juice for that, that's a whole other conversation. But he still had to do the work. Even if he had some extras to help him get there, he still had to do the work. You still got to lift the weights. You still got to spend some time in the gym. You still got to do cardio and all of that stuff. You still got to do the work. If you in the select because of your status, you still had to work a long time, to get that status. You didn't come out the womb, somebody handed you some status. You had to work for that shit. You had to go to school, you had to go through the military, you had to develop your craft to get there. Even if you want some charisma, ain't nobody born with that shit naturally. Some people might have a little bit more than others, but you still got to develop it. Every single dude that is in that 20% had to do some type of work. Now, some dudes, hey, you know what? They might get there from a young age. Honestly, there are some dudes who might get there early, but those are few and far between. Every other person had to work. I know this dude, man. This dude had women going crazy over him, but he showed me pictures of his ass when he by his own words, with Joe Nerd. And this is when I met this dude. This dude was making money as a model. But then I saw the early pictures of him. That dude looked anything far from a model. Because this dude had locks and stuff. Some women go crazy over locks. But then that dude showed me a picture when he had a buzz cut. He had to grow them. Anybody who got some style, because they getting women from style, they had to learn how to dress. They had to figure out what worked on them, what didn't work on them. If you got a mouthpiece, you getting that women via that mouthpiece. You got to figure that shit. You got to figure out what worked. This is the first time you had to talk to a woman. And you had to build that up. Every single guy got to build that up. Nobody's born into it. So if them as men can build it up, that means anybody can build it up. I'm going to tell you what. Because let's use the 80-20 as an example. I have met several men over the years just with a little bit of tweaking. I'm saying a little bit of tweaking, all of a sudden become part of the 20%. Got a young man I mentor now. That dude just needed a little bit of tweaking. Just a little bit of tweaking. I met several like that. There's several men I've coached. Like the best dudes I've coached were getting women in general. And they would because, they were in the 80% at first. See, understand, just because you're in 80% don't mean you don't get women. You just don't get as many. And you might have to work a little bit. That's all that means, really, for most of the 80%. They still going to get some. They just might have to put in a little bit of work. But even then, they tweak it around. All of a sudden, they don't have to work as hard. So, when I hear that, I'm like, well, dude, you got to do some work. Like, everybody looking at me and shit, right? To me, to even get to this point where I can make my money just selling books and doing videos, driving to the gym, I had to work. Even now, like I always say, I'm a stocky brother. If y'all seen some pictures of me when I was little, I was a skinny little kid. But I had to work to get there. Like, one of my things now is, I got enough money to eat what I want. But I remember the time well when, I'm living with my mother and sister. We poor as hell. I'm eating some shit off the street. And I'm just going to share that. But now I'm at the point, I can go in a restaurant. Now. They don't even have to show me the prices and I'm good. But I had to work to get to that point. And that's the whole thing. And see, I've said this before. See, a lot of guys don't embrace being 80%. In fact, if you figured out I'm non-select, okay, now what? You going to stay there? You content to be there, or you going to work? And it don't take much work. Because even some of those people who say, well, it's about looks. You know what, man? I've known a lot of fashion models. You're going to get a tiny percent of men or women who just got their looks. If you look at a lot of fashion models, you see some of their before pictures or when they were little, they were some awkward little, they were awkward. They were awkward, they were looking nerdy. You know, they might have had to get their teeth fixed, something like that. And even then, people don't realize these models that they see or they hold up as so beautiful and got all these looks. All of them had to work on it. I know a dude now, he wants to be a model. Man, that dude be in the gym about 3 hours a day. He be lifting, and that dude make sure his haircut is on point and everything. And just to be clear, this ain't even a race thing. That dude's white. And that dude will get in there. He go in the gym with his jug of water. And he be like he could outwork a pro athlete. He's a pretty boy, he could outwork a pro athlete. But he had to work there because I saw some before pictures of him, man. I was joning on him. I said, well, damn, dude, you kind of grew into your looks, didn't you? Seriously, but he worked for it. Everything. If you want something, you got to work for it, you know? So if you know you 80%, don't embrace it. Don't be like, I'm 80% and I'm mad at these guys and these women. Man, please. I'm going to tell you what, the oldest law in nature is survival of the fittest. Now, I ain't really said that on here, but it's a philosophy I go by. The reality is, if you want something, you want to be among the top, you got to have the will to go there. Don't embrace being anything but what you want. If you're a dude and you want to live better, then you figure out what kind of hustles, money, do whatever you got to do to get there. If you got to work in school, you know, you got to go through the military, you got to work long, hard hours in the cold to build something, you go ahead and build it. No excuses. If you want to get more physically appealing or something like that, well, shoot. You can join a Planet Fitness for $10. And shoot, if you really want to get hardcore, I've known some people, shoot, they get some shit in the backyard and be throwing up weights. It's like whatever. You could do body weight exercises. You go to a playground and shit and do like some body weight exercises. It's shit. Push come to shove, you can run, do sit-ups and push-ups in your home. So there's no excuses. You know, you can read books. If you get a library card, you can increase your intelligence. And shoot, if you need a mouthpiece or something, you just practice talking to people. You know, it might be tough at first. You might have to get over shyness and whatnot, but you keep practicing. And you can build up to what you do to become select. And the select thing, you getting there, not even for the women, for yourself. You want to be the best person you can be. So stop embracing the 80%. Use it as a measure. If you realize you there, women ain't checking for you like that, go build yourself up. Go build your life up. You know, that's the first thing. You build your life up, the women will follow. They want to be a part of your life. So that's on the real talk, y'all. Hey, like I said, I got to go in here and work out myself. Because like I said, I'm a stocky brother, but I can live longer if I'm carrying less weight. So anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.